So we have two watches here, both paying homage to a legendary vintage icon. One costs significantly more, actually it is about double the price give or take, but does it really offer more bang for your buck? In this video we're putting these two timepieces head to head, breaking down their movements, materials and everything else. Will the higher price tag justify itself, or will the underdog surprise us all? Well, we have both of them here, so let's find out. Hello and welcome back. Now in this video we will focus on the differences between these two watches and the value that those differences represent. However, I did a full review of each of these, I must say quite popular timepieces, where I go into minute detail of each and every bit of these classic three-handers, so I highly recommend for you to watch those reviews to get a full picture. I will of course link them in the description. Now, both of these watches are available on AliExpress and both are currently nicely discounted for one of the many AliExpress sales. Now that's all nice and dandy, however, the important part for our comparison is that the prices on both are taking at the same time and on the same platform, so we have a more or less even playing field. And so, at the time of recording this video, Watchdives was priced at $88 and Hruodland at about double that, $178. And of course, I will leave the product links for both of these timepieces in the description of this video. So this is a comparison, and as I do in most of my comparisons, I outline the similarities first to ensure that we can set them aside and then zoom in on the parts that actually matter, that is, the differences. And quite surprisingly, despite these two models homaging the same vintage explorer, there are not as many similarities as it might seem at the first glance. Okay, the basic design elements are similar, we have boxed, I would even say bubble crystal on both, although the materials used are not actually the same, as we will see just now. The overall case shape and finishing approach is very similar too, with lovely curved high polished flanks on both watches. We also have screw-down crowns offering good dust and water resistance on both timepieces, and in line with vintage aesthetics we have inverted end-links, which is of course a positive for both watches too. And the last similarity here is a bit strange, it is the lume. Okay, it is kinda similar in a weird kinda way, but I will get to it in a moment when we run my usual 15-minute lume test with these watches side by side a bit later in this video. Now, here is one category that I sort of expected to be the same, however it is not. The dimensions are ever so slightly different, starting of course with a case diameter of 37mm on Watchdives and 36mm on Hruodland. I kind of get the reasoning for such dimensions for both. Watchdives seem to be trying to tap into the popularity of this form factor, but still delivering a slightly larger case, I guess in an attempt to appeal to a broader watch enthusiast audience, while Hruodland is sticking to the true 36mm size of the iconic watch that inspired this timeless design. Whichever is your preference, I actually like both, and both wear really nicely and practically melt into my about 7-inch wrist. So while dimensions are slightly different, I actually don't see any particular advantages in either of these watches. So let's move on. And next will be the case, and here we encounter the first differences in our comparison. Not very significant, but differences nevertheless, which I will try to express at least approximately in a monetary value. So both watches have impressive finishing and a similar aesthetics, with Hruodland offering a vintage touch with drilled lugs and a notable 200 meters of declared water resistance compared to 100 meters on Watchdives. Watchdives, meanwhile, keeps up with a signed crown, showcasing their new logo. Now, in terms of value, in AliExpress terms, Hruodland's features would probably warrant at least $20 each due to the drilled lugs and higher declared water resistance, but Watchdives isn't going down here without a fight. It has one very important advantage, a signed crown, and so it claws back some value, say around $5 or even $10. So after some addition and subtraction, well, we get about $10 value advantage for Hruodland. Now, when it comes to crystals, we also have some differences that cannot be ignored. However, unlike we did in the previous section, we will not need to guesstimate the price differences here, because Watchdives already prepared the answer for us ahead of time, so to speak. So, both Hruodland and Watchdives feature exquisite double-dome boxed crystals. However, Watchdives uses mineral glass with a K1 scratch-resistant coating on this particular $88 model, which is a more economical option compared to the really good-looking sapphire crystal on more expensive Hruodland watch. However, the same Watchdives model is offered with sapphire crystal option, and it costs $17 more, indicating the price difference between the mineral glass and sapphire versions. So, swapping the crystal would increase the Watchdives price by that amount, that is $17. Now, examining the movements, Hruodland's NH38 is an automatic mechanical movement, and being a mechanical caliber, it is inherently pricier to build. Watchdives VH31 Mecha Quartz, on other hand, while more affordable, still mimics the sweeping second-hand motion of mechanical watches. So, aesthetically, both offer a smooth second-hand sweep and, appropriately, a lack of date function. And so the price difference here comes from the complexity and cost of manufacturing the movements. And while an H38 can be found for around $35 on AliExpress, I could also find the H31 Quartz priced as low as $8, giving us the price difference here of about $27. Okay, time to examine the dials. Well, the dials on the Hruodland and Watchdives, while looking somewhat different, actually each have their unique flair. Hruodland leans into a vintage vibe with burnt black, almost kind of dark chocolatey dial and aged yellowed lume, giving it a classic nostalgic touch. Watchdives, on the other hand, offers a modern twist with applied indices and darker matte black background, resulting in a more contemporary feel. Both brands execute their dials really well, respecting their respective eras of vintage Explorer designs. Now, in terms of luminosity, well, both are also pretty impressive. Watchdives offers strong lume, although with some small inconsistencies on our indices, while Hruodland's slightly aged lume gives a similar performance, with hence, I would say, even to some degree outperforming Watchdives. Despite slight differences, the lume makes both of these watches practical and quite appealing, leaving us without a clear winner here. So overall, both dials bring strong value to the table. Turning to the bracelets, and here is where we will find the most differences. Both brands have similar looks with inverted L-links, brushed top of the links and high polished sides. Hruodland, however, offers an overall better finishing, build quality and functionality, which is one of the reasons I called it the most feature-packed Explorer Homage in my detailed review. So, one of the features Hruodland offers is a very practical quick-release spring bars, and I would guesstimate that it would add, say, about $10 in value. Hruodland also outshines with better build quality, tighter tolerances and screws instead of pins for link connections, all of which adds, I would argue, at least another $15 in value. Lastly, the premium clasp with on-the-fly adjustment on Hruodland stands out with a superior build quality compared to similar looking but lower quality clasps that are plenty on AliExpress. And good quality clasp like this is worth around possibly at least $10 more. Actually, Watchdives offers such clasp as an upgrade for about $15 on their website. So, all in all, I would say an extra at least $35 advantage for Hruodland for bracelet and clasp. So, adding it all up, and we get about $88 difference here, give or take, which coincidentally is pretty much the price difference between these two watches. So, what's the conclusion then? Well, you get what you pay for, I guess. Well, at least in the case of these two brands. And in my books, it is a good thing, because we clearly see that both brands deliver good quality and designs, giving us a choice when it comes to preferred aesthetics and preferred budget. One is still double the price of another, after all. What are your thoughts? Well, do let us know in the comments. And for detailed reviews of both of these watches and other cool homages, well, do check my links on the screen around here, and of course I'll put them in the description too. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next video.